Welcome to Uptown Rumble, heavy music in the Bronx. Today is February 10th, 2025. My name is Steven Payne. I'm the director of the Bronx County Historical Society, and here for an oral history with Karnage of Rebelmatic. You want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
What's up, everybody? This is Karnage of Rebelmatic. Welcome to Uptown Rumble. Uptown, baby. Uptown BX in the building right here. The Bronx County. I don't want to mess it up. Bronx County Historical Society.
That's right.
All right.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for being here. So why don't you start off by just talking a little bit about your family history and background and the story of how you ended up in the Bronx?
Well, my family history and background. I was born in Harlem, over in Manhattanville Houses, over on 133rd in Amsterdam Avenue. And I lived there until I was 5 years old, but I was still going back and forth every other weekend and things. So because my grandmother and my aunts, my uncle lived there. So in any case, we moved to the Bronx when I was 5 because Mom wanted to get us an apartment for our own. She had graduated college and wanted to move out. Can't blame her. So so first, as according to her, we started off in Sheridan Avenue, or Sheridan Parkway, I believe it is Sheridan Parkway, and over by there, and then we had to move out because, well, according to her, it's like, well, we got robbed. So it's like, so the family rallied together and moved us by the 1 train over by West 225th Street. Okay, and that's the first part of the Bronx I wound up in. That's where I went to elementary school. I went to PS7 over in Kingsbridge, over in 236th Street, probably, 236th Street. Right. It's now called the Milton Fine School. And then my first junior high school was Junior High School 141 up in Riverdale. Yes. So, and I was only there until December 1986. And in January 1987, that's when we moved to the Northeast Bronx over by Dyer Avenue. And we resided on Hill Avenue. And not realizing at the time, it was like, oh yeah, Mount Vernon is about 3 blocks up. So that became that area up there, the Northeast Bronx, and just being anywhere far in the Bronx, it seems. But Northeast, North, now here in the Northwest Bronx. So, but Northeast Bronx is where I became, which was the starting ground for what would be Karnage right now.
Okay. Yeah. So taking it back just a little bit, do you have many memories from your time in Harlem?
Yeah, for sure. Because one of the things, from my time in Harlem, was playing on the terrace, like most kids did back then, because we really kind of didn't have the greatest playground in the projects and stuff. So we either play on the terrace or with the other kids that lived on the floor, or my mom, my aunt, they would just take me and some of our other family friends, and we go over to a nearby park. We go over to, it's not really a nearby park, but St. Nicholas Park is the closest one. Sure. So we'd walk to that. But also part of that is I had a great aunt that who was older even when I was young. She was about 70 young. So she lived over on 145th by the 3 train.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Yeah, so she had this classic pre-war building.
Yeah.
Okay, completely looking like old Harlem, back in the day. Yes, and I mean inside everything. I mean the elevator had, it even had an elevator man.
Wow.
He was, but then after a while he wasn't there anymore, so you could still move the elevator yourself. But it's funny, you use the the lever that goes up. Yeah, it was that old and stuff because that's how old my great Aunt Maddie was. R.I.P. Aunt Maddie, even though you died 20 years ago, but still, yeah, she lived to be almost 102. Wow. she's part of my memory of Harlem too, because I would go to church with her.
Okay, what church did your
family
go
I would go to Salem AME Church, and that's over by Adam Clayton Powell. Yeah, it's over by Adam Clayton Powell and 129th. And interestingly enough about that school, that's where I went to daycare, because that school had a community-ran daycare that went up to kindergarten.
Wow.
Yeah, see, that was a new thing at the time. I mean, it wasn't so much a new thing at the time, but that was kind of common. Like, there are churches that had an educational facility.
Sure.
And also, so that's part of my memories of Harlem. And I kept having memories of Harlem, because it's not like, I kept going back. I mean, I kept going back for a long time, just because when my mom met my stepfather when I was 6 years old, so they're dating, and so of course they want to spend their time together. So he can go with it. He can go spend the weekend.
You're going back to Harlem.
Yeah, he can go spend the weekend with his grandmother and his aunts and stuff. But my grandmother and my aunts always took me somewhere, and so I would always go to church, or my aunts, they would take me to the movies.
Okay.
Yeah, they'd take me to the movies, and around that time, the popular things that were happening were like superhero movies, of course, so, space movies, and kung fu movies.
Of course.
Yeah, so,
of course.
Yeah, so that didn't start happening later until I was in about fourth grade.
Okay.
Yeah, and my aunts would take me down to Times Square.
I was going to ask if
yes, they
Times Square,
did.
yep.
Ironically, I never really smelled anything funny around. I never saw any rats or mice running by me. So thankfully, I mean, we probably did go to the more, like the more healthy ones.
If you will. For sure.
Probably more clean ones, but it was still. This is still Times Square.
Yep.
When Times Square looked like
it was real.
Times Square before Disney.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. So, but even just seeing that, it was just, I think I was just kind of blinded by it. Like, I never really, saw it. It just didn't seem like, I'm short then, so. But those were great times, because around those times, is when I started seeing my first hip hop movies.
Which ones did you see in theaters? Do you remember?
Yes, the first one I saw was Wild Style. I was too young to understand Wild Style. I was 8 years old when I saw that, showing my age. Anyway, so I was still, but it wasn't until, and it seemed a little different than. And I was like, okay, because I'd already, believe it or not, I'm around hip hop. I'm around the hip hop culture as it's happening.
Yeah.
So my aunt and my mom are young.
Yeah.
So they're out there in the park, at the park jams or at the block parties. They didn't really bring me because too young to really be around all this kind of I guess what they would have perceived as chaos and whatnot. Not really something that little kids, should be at and whatnot. Maybe if the kids that are there, their parents live within the area, it's fine. But they would leave and go out. So, but it wasn't until I saw Beach Street that changed everything. From there, what Beach Street did to me was it made me become a breaker. It made me I wanted to break dance. I'd already been kind of doing it, but Beach Street just solidified it. I want to do that. I want to battle. I want to, I want to do this. I want to, try to get as really good at this as I possibly can. But I didn't see the rap side of it. I saw the rap side of it, the rap at the time, if you really think about it, it could have either hit you or it could have made you feel like, okay, that's good for the movie. Or you're thinking about certain songs that have already, hit the mark, oh goodness, Rapper's Delight.
Rapper's Delight,
that was 5 years earlier, but then you got something like any song by Curtis Blow at the time.
For sure.
That's happening and stuff, or maybe the Treacherous 3 and stuff. But the whole the idea of if you looking at that movie, you're not thinking rap is going to be the dominant is going to be what gets through the door.
It's the dance.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, because like it's concentrated on the dance and the graffiti and stuff. But I mean, but the idea of being a rapper at 10 years old didn't occur to me at all. I just, because you look at it back then, it's like the hip hop culture was still young well. So it's like you wanted to contribute in any way you could.
Yeah,
you know, whether you wanted to be a breaker, whether you wanted to be a beatboxer, whether you wanted to actually maybe take your hand at this rapping thing, or you know, or be a graffiti writer. You know, it was all there, or a DJ. You know, so it was all there. And it just, you know, once it became about just the rap and the music and everything else that's culturally, you know, part of it, is just off on its own, and at times they don't really meet unless under special occasions. Those are my memories within my elementary school years in the Bronx.
Wow. So after you saw Beat Street and, you know, you wanted to become a breaker.
Yeah.
Was there any place in like Marble Hill, Kingsbridge that was going on? Or?
Yeah, especially in Marble Hill projects. In Marble Hill projects, or inside the park over there. It's like by the basketball courts, by the handball courts.
Absolutely.
It's like there was always somebody breaking. Like there was always kids out there breaking. Even on my block, Adrian Avenue, we'd go outside. Wow. You know, we'd battle each other. Or you know, go up the street on Adrian to the other people that lived up there, battle them. Or we'd have our own, you know, just having fun breaking, like going down to Kennedy on the AstroTurf. And aside from us having our two-hand touch or tackle football games, I mean, they quickly became two-hand touch because we realized that the AstroTurf was just as hard as concrete. So we're trying to play tackle football without equipment, like, why don't we stick to two-hand touch, guys? It's like, so, and it's so funny, like, you could go down there back then during the day. It's like, because there was a hole in the gate. Yeah. And when I coming from the promenade, so you'd walk down this hill, you go on the baseball field, and you'd go through, but that's because it was behind my building. Or if, you know, I just happened to be, or if we happen to be out on our bikes, we would just actually ride to the proper entrance, you know, and we'd go down there, you know, we'd go down there and break dance. Like someone always had a, you know, boom box. It's like, you know, we did it a lot.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Were there any like local crews, like breaking crews?
Yes, there were. There were two. Well, the two that I knew of went to my school. Went to my elementary school. They were, and the funny thing is, like, they actually were breaking crews. Yeah. You know, the funny thing is, like, even though they tried to perpetrate like a gang and whatnot,
of course.
But,
And
the thing is, they actually went through the whole. They went through the whole thing of getting jackets with the bubble letters, and like they really went through and like got jackets. Like one group was called all right, so it's funny, like it was like CB and BC. So one crew was called Born Crazy. Okay. And the other was called Crunch Bunch.
They probably split from each other at some point.
Yeah, the thing is, they were all friends. That's the funny thing. I'm like, funny. Wait, but and you know what? They were the sixth graders, but they were the sixth graders who were like the only crew in the elementary school in PS7. But they would battle each other in our after school program, and stuff. Which after school programs back then were free, and they weren't really, they weren't even because there wasn't such thing as like as a company that was an organization that was an after school program. It was just after school program provided by your school, by the Board of Education at the time. But it's not like now where so it was. So it was like and it was optional too. Yeah, and it was optional, it was free, but most of us wanted to go just because it was something to do. You know, it was kind of a break from, you know, the mundane somewhat existence of elementary school at the time, but it really wasn't. I mean, elementary was fun. I will say this, but yeah, those were the two crews. There were, like, I mean, as far as like other than the famous ones, like, Rocksteady Crew or the Dynamic Rockers or New York City Breakers. But as far as within our local area or within our school, the
BCCB.
yes, the sixth graders. Born Crazy and Crunch Bunch from PS7.
Were you a part of either of those?
No, I wasn't a part of any of those because it's all like those. It was definitely for the older kids. It's like we as young kids, we were. We looked up to them. So if anything, what we would do is like we watch them, and then go back and like try to practice what we learned. Learned what they just saw what they just did, and like, oh, can we do that ourselves? And they would actually like really like go through like dressing up in the Adidas suits. Yeah, the Adidas sneakers, the fat shoelaces, Pumas, Kango. Like they really had the look, for how hip hop was at the time. Pretty much like all walking, Jamal Shabazz, pictures, sheepskins, or, tight lee pants rolled up with with pinstripes, if you want. It was an interesting time, but it's just that what's also kind of damaging in the sense is that breakdancing becomes kind of played out by 1986. And so if you're 12 years old, revealed my age, but if you're 12 years old at that time and you're still breakdancing, people are looking at you like, what are you doing? It's played out, man.
Yep.
And back then, it's like nobody wanted to do anything that was played out. It's like we didn't really... Some of us weren't that forward thinking. Who can be at that age? It's like as long as it's not hurting you, you still follow the pact as far as where trends are going or where cultural, trends are going. So if breaking is played out, like, well, you don't want to look like, what the heck? I don't want to look like I'm played out. But in hindsight, if I'd have kept going with that,
you were pretty good, huh?
Yeah, I still do it. Like I do it when I perform with Rebelmatic. Yeah. Just like as like a break in the show, like towards the end, we have the song "Emergency Break," where I was like, it just started as a joke or whatever, and I did it, but I just kept going. And also, I was a breakdancing instructor at an after-school program for 7 years. So it's still in me. I still show it here and there. And stuff, but, it's still in me. And I do it for practice just to keep my body fluid so I don't become stiff.
I know that you were doing it when you were pretty young, at least originally, but did you have any like signature moves that you would go to?
Yes. Which I would never do now, but I used to do this move called the suicide. Okay. So it's like basically you stand up and you do like a flip and like you land right on your back. But but you land like your leg, like you land, you have your have one leg bent. And like usually like how I used to be like or I do a go down and push up like that with my hands. And I might still be able to do that one, but not much. And then, of course, the worm, like everybody did back then. Worm, the helicopter, the usual 6-step. I still wish I had the windmill. I still wish I had every time I kept practicing. But I had a backspin. I definitely had a backspin. And stuff. But it's like as time has gone on, like those kind of foundational moves, traditional moves, historical moves, they're kind of, not to say that they've taken a back seat. They've just been upgraded to a more hyper physical level.
Absolutely.
But before all this, before all the Red Bull and before all the serious, before the European and Asian, influence of breaking, that's kind of become what everybody perceives as like, and that at the same time that can lure people and that can also intimidate them and stuff. But to a point that even, that ilk, they're not really grounded in foundational moves. Like the younger generation of it, like the older ones, like the older ones who picked up on it in the late 80s and the 90s.
Yeah.
Like B-Boy Storm and all those guys out there in Europe and stuff. And that's what created the new chapter where it's more physical and more all this other stuff that, our guys weren't doing before. But to still be able to, I enjoy, especially as an instructor, I enjoy showing students, kids, the foundational moves. And it's like, because at least that gives them more hope. It's like, okay, so this is how you start off. You have a foundation. Now, should you choose to go on this other, path, that's good. That's on you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because you can see some breaking routines now that don't even include like rocking at all. And in the past, it's like that's how you start everything. It's the foundation of it. But yeah, there's like no connection to that sometimes now. So
yeah, I mean, it was like sometimes they just come out, do a little this, and then
within seconds just
hit the floor like
power move after power move.
That's all it is. Is really just power moves. Like, okay, can I see a dance? Can I see like something that? I mean, you gotta have a foundation because with all these power moves, that's great. But in the end, can you dance?
Yeah, I know. That's what it was all about.
Anyway, it still was about dancing.
Wow. So why don't you talk some about like what your elementary school was like what kinds of kids went there, what the neighborhood was like, what kinds of people lived in the neighborhood at the time, and all that kind of dynamic.
All right. So as I look back on it, I realized that it was segregated. Not segregated, but I say segregated sounds bad. It means, but separated.
Yeah,
let's
sure.
Let's say it was culturally separated because, like, as I think about it, being up by Adrian Avenue in Harlem. Listen to me. Oh my God, you have to cut that out. But being up at because the bridge is right there. So like there. You come in, that's that bridge from Washington Heights,
that's
right?
It's
from the end of Washington Heights.
Yeah.
So, so being there, I realized that Adrian Avenue, like again, you don't think about this as much when you're younger or whatnot, but maybe as you start to get older, you realize it. But it's just one of those things I look back in hindsight, like, you know what, we were separated because Marble Hill, as you see, is predominantly Latin.
Yep.
Okay, and and black. Now, seemed like even within that, there was a little bit of separation because, I didn't even think about that. Wow, there's just only a kind of a handful of us black families that live around here, and especially up there on Adrian.
Yep.
And what I realized is like it was a mixed neighborhood. Because on the corner down there, I say going along Edmondson is like going, or is that Alexander going by?
I think Anderson.
Yeah, yes, going by John F. Kennedy. It's like there's like more Irish families over there. And then as you go over more by like was it Van Corlear, that inner block there?
Yep.
More Irish families too, and some Latin families. And then once you start going down the hill, by Marble Hill becomes more Latin.
Yep.
And it's like, and I think, and it stays like that up until you get to PS7.
Yeah.
Where it's like that's where it becomes where it becomes more Eurocentric.
Yeah,
It's like you have a lot more Irish and you have a lot more Greeks and you have a lot of Albanians and Koreans and stuff. So, and then the fact that we all went to that elementary school, it was great. I loved it. I loved the diversity of what that school was and even around that neighborhood and what it represented. Like, it wasn't, the diversity that was represented in the school.
Yes.
Was good. But if you went around, like, even within different parts of over there, maybe by Tibbet Place, I know this is building by Irwin Ave.
Oh, yeah. Irwin, yeah.
So there was, in that building, it's like they had, there were black and Latino kids that lived over there in that building and stuff. So I think it's kind of a co-op. But still, most of who I was growing up, my friends at school, at least who I would hang out with even on the weekend, is that like I would go back and forth. Like I would either hang out on my block.
Yep.
And stuff, and then also other times I would go over by Joe's Pizza on 235th and heck, meet up with Danny Sapperman and Michael Zagrafis and John Jung, and we're looking like, we're looking like a whole, we're like a whole rainbow coalition here, like us, like geez, like this Korean kid, this black kid, and these two white kids. It's just, we all, ride our bikes, go. We go comic book shopping too.
Sure.
Yeah.
Where were the comic book shops in the neighborhood?
There weren't any one store in particular. Like we didn't have a Forbidden Planet.
Yeah.
I mean, the closest is Dragon's Den, and Yonkers, but
yeah, sure.
Like you just go into the regular, stationery store. You could buy comic books. Or mostly a stationery store where you could buy comics. Maybe a magazine store, or like a gift shop.
Yeah,
You could buy them from where they have Kung Fu magazines at the time. Inside Kung Fu, very big magazine at the time, along with Ring, the boxing magazine, too, because boxing was still at the height of its popularity.
Thing, yep.
Yeah, very huge thing.
Absolutely.
So we just buy, like I said, from gift shops, stationery stores, but again, I didn't realize the difference too much. Like I didn't realize, but then as I, when I went over there, like, as I go back and forth sometimes over there just to, I don't know, for nostalgia purposes.
Sure.
Because really nobody's over there
anymore.
And I see the difference. I'm like,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I see the difference over
there.
And
I know.
And then even within Marble Hill projects, I realized that there's even within that, it's kind of separated. It's like there was one section that was mostly black, and then the other section, which is mostly Latin. And I think it was the ones that were mostly Latin were the buildings that were across the street, and maybe not the buildings that were actually within the full complex. So it's like the extra one, the ones that were by. If that is that supermarket still on the corner? Is it Met or is it?
It's now C-Town.
Okay, C-Town. That went through so many names growing up, and just like I'm surprised that pizza shop is still on the corner when you come downstairs from 225th.
Right there in the starts corner. With an A.
Arturo's.
Arturo's. That's it.
It's still there.
It's still there, and it looks like it. Some of the pizza looks like it's been there a while too, but I'll still eat it.
I know. I'm surprised. Like it's still. I'm like, okay, good, still good. All right, but it's but I noticed that too, like, but then also just the whole area over by there is changing because what happened, as you know, Washington Heights got overcrowded or people got priced out.
Yep.
So they wound up venturing over that bridge. Once you go past 215th, it's like an extension of the Heights.
Yep.
But it was. I mean, overall, I loved growing up over there. I did. I mean, talk about exploring a lot. Just jump on my bike and I could just ride anywhere. Because this is still part of the whole bike riding culture too. Like BMXs were a thing at the time. Especially like Huffy bikes.
Absolutely.
Maybe Mongoose if you could afford it. And so. Yeah, but me, I unfortunately didn't have a BMX bike. I had a purple banana seat bike.
I got you.
But it was cool, though. It was. I felt like Prince.
That's pretty righteous. So you already mentioned like how huge of a thing hip-hop was to, your musical development at that point in time, and I know it just continues to be after that. What are some other like sources of music in your life at that point? Like, did your mom would she like listen to things at home, or did you hear music elsewhere? Like, talk some more about music at that point in your
Both,
childhood. Yeah,
because I always heard music growing up.
yeah.
So music was around me since as long as I can remember. So whether it was my mom and my stepfather playing music, in the house, or my aunts, my grandmother playing music in the house, like music was always around. In fact, the first, I believe it or not, I don't remember hearing Rapper's Delight when it was first out. Like I remember hearing it, like it being there, but like the one I really first remember hearing, and like hearing a lot actually throughout my house, because of throughout the apartment in Harlem, because my aunts was the Breaks. Curtis
Okay,
Blow. So
sure.
I heard that a lot, definitely. And then, not to mention, there were rappers in my building, in our building, the Fearless Four.
Oh, okay,
yes,
okay,
yeah.
okay,
My aunt knows all four of them.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
wow.
yeah, the Fearless Four. So she knew all of them, and excuse me. And even to this day, we saw them last, like 2 years ago, at Summer Stage, over in Mount Morris Park.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
In any case, but music has always been in my family. I mean, I can't even begin to tell you. Now, as far as me discovering my own taste, that was all me. Like again, because like I said, my mom and my aunts, them being young, so they knew the hip hop culture around at the time. So it was just more for like, parties, park jams, mixtapes, that by the time they get them, they're like third generation, sounding of routines and whatnot, but like really good, stuff. So they would play that, around the house and stuff, especially my uncle too.
Yeah.
He would play that, kind of stuff around the house. My grandmother wasn't with none of that. So, sure. But so through her, it's like she would play Motown or play soul music and stuff, and that also got me too. And then also, not to remember, it's still disco.
That's right.
And it's still disco, and then even going into the early stages of house.
Yeah, sure.
So that was my aunt's thing right there. She was going to like the underground after hour clubs. My other aunt would go with her. My mother would go with her sometimes. My uncle was like, so they would go out. And I remember silly little me be like, oh, can I go? They would look at me like, you want to go out dancing with us, Kyle? Yeah. Like, it's too young. Like, no, you can't go. But that's, I mean, so music in that sense was always, around me. So I've pretty much been raised by music as much as I've been, raised, by my family. And then also in elementary school, starting to watch video shows.
Okay, sure.
Watching this one show that was on Channel 7 called New York Hot Tracks.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay, with your host, Juan Carlos De Jesus. And I would watch Friday Night Videos, but Friday Night Videos didn't have a cool host like him. But they would have different, celebrities or music, were hosted. But that's how I also began to develop my music, knowledge, and started getting into more stuff, on my own. But it really started with Barbara White's in 4th grade. She was a, now they would call them paras.
I see.
But back then they were resource teachers.
Yeah.
So resource was just, I guess is what they would consider what paras do now, but not really. It's more like, okay, maybe the kid just like wants a little extra activity as a break during the day and whatnot. Doesn't mean I need a Rorschach test or anything like that. But
sure.
But it was just like something a little extra, a little fun. So there was this woman, Barbara White. She would play music, around and stuff. And I guess she could see that I was liking it, and It was the Beatles.
Okay.
So I remember she gave me my first Beatles mixtape.
Okay.
And then after that, it just started becoming like like we just kept, like more just kept coming. And then she turned me on to John Mellencamp, who was called John Cougar, back then. So I got into him, and then also you get to watch all this stuff by seeing the videos. So you put the pictures, you put the face to the music, and I mean, I know that's really where the journey begins.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was fourth grade. Oh my God. So much music already by the time you're in fourth grade. Like, wow. So why don't you? We'll jump back to your musical development in a second, but why don't you talk about the short time you spent at the Riverdale Junior High School and what that was like for you?
141. Well, first of all, I already went there. My friends were already there. Okay, the good thing is, so it's like, it's not like I'm going to I'm going to a junior high school where I don't know anybody.
Yeah.
So the few of us that went from PS7, we went to, I have to go as far as saying most of us.
Most of you, okay.
Yeah, most of us most of us from PS7, we went to junior high school 141, because the other zone school was 143 over there on Exterior Street.
Yeah.
And I didn't really know much about, like, no, I don't think I want to be going there. But here's the kicker. Like, I didn't realize we were being bussed in. But on the public bus.
Yep.
And this made me realize that, damn, this city's so cheap. They gave us half fare buses. Like, when you really think about it, if you're taking the BX7 from Marble Hill, because that's where you gotta catch the bus. So you gotta walk down there and catch the bus, or the BX10.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is still kind of going far. It's not like you're going that close.
That's right.
And we're only given half fare bus passes.
I know.
I was like, oh, come on, Sid.
I know.
Like, it was terrible. Like, but I didn't realize it. Like, wait a minute. It seems like we're being bussed in and out. Like, it seems like we're the ones that's coming, because, like, you really think about it, I mean, where 141 is separated from the rest.
Absolutely.
I mean, like, because you have to go over that bridge for Independence to go into it.
Absolutely.
So it was always, but it was, so having that, I mean, already having the support and the foundation of going there with people I knew.
Yeah.
It was already, it was pretty good. But it was a big school.
Yeah.
It's a big school. And I didn't
yeah.
realize how big of a school it was. And then also, I didn't realize how, it was like, it was really, it was a melting pot, sort of, but it was like a melting pot of all different kinds of, separation. So it was like as much of a melting pot as it was, people still were not, it was still separated. Like, this is where the first time I'm getting to see social cliques.
Yeah,
social and cultural cliques and stuff. So at the time, let's see what you would have as like the start of the preppy. So this is where I'm seeing young preppy, people. I'm seeing, what is it, Ocean Pacific, Oshkosh,
all that stuff.
Oh God, Swatch watches.
Oh my God.
But then, and also, seeing other kinds of kids too. Like, I'm seeing, denim jackets with metal patches on it.
Yeah, sure.
Seeing kids with their long hair and whatnot, wearing their Metallica T-shirt, wearing their wristbands, and it's like really just like metalheads. At freaking 12 years old, and I'm like, okay, this is so. I mean, so it was, and then didn't really see the jocks too much, but just kind of there were, obviously the rough kids, if you will. I mean, they weren't really bullies or anything like that, but they were They were. I mean, they were some rough kids.
Yeah.
In fact, it was. I remember one day I got into a play. This guy used to bother me all the time. And we would. His name is Larray, but we're friends and whatnot. But we would just play fight. Play fight. Like, okay, Larray, we have to stop this. like we played. I remember we got into a play fight in the courtyard, and people joined in. And, while you're rolling on the floor, people are kicking you while you're fighting. I'm like, okay, this is some new nonsense. But it was me only being there for a semester. I didn't really get to, fully embrace, what it was. Well, I did enjoy going out for lunch.
Okay.
Yeah,
you got to do that.
Yes, got to go out for lunch. So you go out and, go wherever, usually there was a food truck over there, or you go to the pizza shop and stuff, and you could come back in time to, start, go to your class at, to the next period. But I really didn't gain much out of it. It just, because again, because even though there was people there that I came in with that I knew, we were still, I guess once we all got in there, it just kind of became separated. But it wasn't like it was, saying, it's not like it was 6 people from my class that I was best friends with in 6th grade, and we went to, 141 together, or really just it was more so okay, individuals from certain classes, we were all friends because we all meet, somewhere commonly and whatnot. Or even heck, some of us weren't even in the Boy Scouts in the same troop.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
Sure.
So, but it was. Needless to say, it being such a short time that, it really didn't have. It didn't have a profound impact on me. It didn't shape me anyway. It's because, I really don't know anyone else still from there. Although it's funny, I did wind up meeting one person later in life who, right now, I just want to give a rest in peace to John Murrin, singer of the band Vic 20. He passed away 2 years ago, but he had kind of disappeared, been off the grid for about 4 years prior to that. But he went to junior high school 141, but I didn't know him back then. Yeah, he was, because he's a year older than me.
I got you. Yeah. So by that point, when you were going into junior high, where else had your interest in rock and roll taken you? Obviously you were still listening and deep in the hip hop world and all. But talk more about your journey into rock and roll too.
Well, from that, it was seeing Prince. I'm not in concert, mind you.
Okay, not in concert.
No, when I was my aunt's boyfriend.
Yeah.
Took me to see Purple Rain.
Wow.
Yeah, and looking back on it, I really don't think I was supposed to be watching that movie, but it was seeing Prince. With his solo at the end of Let's Go Crazy.
Oh man.
I was just sitting there, just my jaw dropped. I'm acting like I'd never seen a guitar solo. But something about that end with the way he plays it, it just caught me and said, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
I want to play guitar. And I got one. I didn't get one. My aunt, excuse me, my aunt Lois brought me a guitar.
Okay.
Yes, R.I.P. Aunt Lois, but she brought me an acoustic, and it just kind of, I kept fiddling around with it. I was trying to get lessons. They were trying to get me lessons. My great aunt Maddie, she even tried to get me lessons with, at her church, at Salem, and this older gentleman who was an older blues player. It's he tried to teach me, but didn't work out.
Didn't click, yeah.
Yeah, so no, it just didn't. He's an older gentleman, so he's probably just wants to rest and relax. But
that's right.
Yeah, so So basically sat in my room for until I was 16.
Okay.
Yeah, but then I got an electric when I was, now mind you, so while all this is happening, I'm just basically using it for air guitar to like play along with, because by the time I'm 13, that's when I really start becoming a metalhead. It's like, yeah, and because what's happening is that I'm listening to the radio more and more, so I'm starting to listen to, thanks to the Beatles tapes, but I'm starting to listen more and more to the radio and listen to WNEW, 2.7, and they had the what do you call it, the psychedelic hour or something like that, but they would just play like, so from here I'm hearing a lot of Rolling Stones.
I see.
A lot of Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah.
Even though they're not psychedelic, Aerosmith. And
sure.
Stuff, but that's late. Cream and stuff. So I'm starting to hear Steppenwolf and stuff. Yeah. So I'm starting to hear more of a Jefferson Airplane. So I'm starting to hear more kind of like heavier sounding guitars as opposed to the Beatles.
Yeah, that's right.
And whatnot. So but it was always there. Like me being into rock and roll, it was always been there. Everybody latched on to Jump when it when it first came out. Absolutely. Or that 1984 Van Halen album. Or even buying like the Hall & Oates albums, or the Police. Okay, Synchronicity.
Yep.
Buying albums like that. But I'm starting to hear things a little bit more heavier. And what solidified it was, because also I remember it in the back of my head, like, because I always I grew up listening to Twisted Sister and Ozzy and Motley Crue, because again, I was seeing those videos on Friday Night Videos. That's right. I liked those songs. But as like far as me like really like starting to discover it on my own, it was when I was 13, and it started from listening to WNEW, because also at night, on Friday nights, they had the show called Metal Shop.
Okay.
Yes. And from there, that's just when, from there, that's when the fuse was lit. Because now I'm up every Friday with my tape ready and ready to tape anything. And one of the first illest songs I hear is Welcome to the Jungle.
Oh, yeah.
But they're also playing other, the typical stuff like Kiss, Black Sabbath, but the fire was lit. It's like, I think the more I just kept listening to it, and it's like I become addicted.
Yeah.
And I become addicted, and like it's always like, because it has the same feel. It has the same feel as hip hop. So I'm like, I like them more. But the first one to really, really pull me in, my first cassette, was the Metallica Garage Days re-revised. The 598 EP.
Wow.
Changed my life forever.
Wow.
Changed my life.
Where'd you get that? Do you remember?
Yes. I bought it at Caldor.
Okay.
Over in Pelham, New York, right across the bridge.
Right across.
Yes, that's where I bought it.
Wow.
Yes, it was. Because the thing is like, especially price. I'm like, well, I should still be able to get it at the exact price, because like I was seeing, I think maybe in the Wiz, whatever, it was $5.98, but they were selling it for $6.99. It says it's $5.98. Like, but Caldor sold it, and that's where I bought it.
Wow.
And it was, oh goodness, I tell you, that opening song, Helpless. I remember turning it up before my parents came home, because by that point, like, I could pretty much, I could go places by myself. Like, yeah. I've been taking the train by myself since I was 10 years old, possibly maybe traveling by myself since I was 8, 6. Yeah, fly on the plane. Like, okay, just sit here.
Yeah.
You know. It's like, but there was always somebody to meet me wherever I was going.
Sure.
But so I could ride over to Caldor, on my bike myself.
Yeah.
And then also, my parents bought me junior high school graduation. For my junior high school graduation, I guess my parents could hear how much I was getting into, this rock music and stuff, and then especially into metal. So along with all the rap they're hearing coming out the room, they don't know what they're gonna hear next. And it was cool. They brought me Kiss Alive too.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
on cassette. And I remember they took me to McDonald's, and then when I came back home, I just listened to it. I listened to the whole thing from beginning to end in my room, and it was a fun day.
Wow.
Yeah, but and then so once I bought the 598 EP myself, and so I just kept going over to Caldera each time, buying cassettes, because they were cheap there.
Yeah, sure.
And so buying metal cassettes, buying hip hop cassettes, but really I was buying metal cassettes like crazy. Yeah.
So was that the main spot that you go to? Were there any other spots close by you go to?
Yeah. No, that was the closest one.
Yeah.
Now I started venturing by myself. I remember that summer, because while I was listening to WNEW on Friday nights, just one day I happened to be, during the summer, just turning the dial. Because there's always some kind of radio stations
right.
to the left. And I hear, hey, heavy guitars. By this point, I'm already becoming familiar, with some other more Metallica material, or just other bands like Judas Priest,
Sure.
more Iron Maiden and stuff, and just whomever else, Anthrax,
Yeah.
and I'm hearing, I don't know who it was I heard, but I know I'm hearing heavy guitars, and I look, of course I look at the time, and it's still daylight out, and it's it may have been somewhere between 10 and 12.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is this? What station is playing this in the morning, in the early afternoon? It's I don't have to wait till Friday night. I was let me just see if it's a fluke. Let me see if they'll just play. Maybe this is just 1 or 2 songs. No, it goes to a few hours, man, and then you go. Yes, that was just such. Now you're listening to WSOU 89.5, South Orange, New Jersey, Pirate Radio, Seton Hall University.
Uh-huh.
And that's when everything changed. That really, now I know I said with the 598 EP, that changed my life, but really now that I had access to it every day,
Yes.
I couldn't stop. It just... but it was still a shame that I still had my guitar sitting there and I wasn't getting any lessons. Didn't seem like I was ever going to learn how to play it. So so my aunt got me an electric guitar, and for my 14th birthday, and that faced the same fate, just sitting there. And I just figured one day, so I just kept playing it. I was like, oh, maybe if I just keep playing it, eventually something will... No, I didn't realize, I need some training.
Yeah.
And then one day, I think my parents had enough. When I was 16, in December, they found out there was an adult education class that had it was a free guitar class, 8-week program.
Wow.
At my high school. At Harry S. Truman.
Okay.
Because that's when they would put out adult education circulars, throughout neighborhoods, but I guess only in co-ops. So I don't know how they found it.
Oh,
yeah.
I see.
And I remember it was my stepfather who found it. He goes, "Hey, look, we found guitar classes for you." I said, "Where?" It said, "At your high school." Really? Yes. I said, "Well, when is it?" It's every Saturday for 8 weeks. I was like, all right.
Let's do it.
Yeah, and and that was good because it gave me structure.
Yeah.
Gave me structure, and I could start to play along with the songs I'd already been listening to, but I hadn't developed how to play by ear.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I was 17 I met my friend Shauna Jones, She's from the Bronx, and she's pretty much the reason Karnage exists. Because she taught me how to play guitar. She taught me how to play, rock and metal on guitar. Because that was always the thing. As much as I liked guitar, I was always drawn to wanting to play rock. I mean, whether it was Chuck Berry or whether it was Kirk Hammett, I just wanted to. And she showed me the basic bar chord format. I said, that was all that was needed. The monster was created. Oh, and she also brought in the cohort this gentleman named Ish.
Okay.
Yeah, who used to be in his 2 bands, Warcraft.
Oh, Warcraft. Yeah. I've heard of them.
What?
Absolutely. Gerson used to be in it too, and anyway.
You know Manny?
I haven't spoken with any of them. I just heard them mentioned a lot, but yeah.
And they used to be in, because they were in another band together, Hallucination Station.
Hallucination Station, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
yes,
wow.
but Warcraft. It's so funny, Ish was the singer.
Wow.
But he...
Were they all hairy as Truman High School kids?
Yes. Ish,
okay.
Ish went to Truman.
Okay, Ish went to Truman, okay.
He was older than me and stuff.
Yeah.
So I think he only went there for, not to put the man's business in the street, but I don't think he graduated. I think he may have. But he's, whenever, in the early stages, Shauna was showing me how to play. I mean, she still was. and then Ish, she brought him by so he could, I guess, kind of maybe help me advance a little more when she couldn't and whatnot. But both of them together helped me really get on the path. And it's so now I made use out of my electric guitar and my amp, and it was so great because my parents couldn't tell the difference between the record and me. Wow. It got to that point.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was good, and I think also what helped is that the music climate of the time was really inspiring.
Absolutely.
So I think that's what really made me feel all right, I got to do something with this instrument, and I mean it's just and then because the explosion was happening at the time, you still had thrash, even though people were ready to write it off and push it out because grunge came in, but it really wasn't. It wasn't particularly dead. It's just
that's right.
It just changed a little bit.
Yeah.
Anthrax, they slowed down.
Yeah.
Slayer had slowed down.
Yep.
Who else? Pantera had, they used, as Phil said, well, let's just make every song the money riff. But then you're getting bands like Prong and stuff. One of New York's greatest bands ever, completely overlooked.
I know. They really
are. Overkill, so it's and then just even other heavier bands that were teetering, a new thrash sound, Nonfiction.
That's right.
Leeway. So it's
Demolition Hammer in the Bronx at that point.
Oh, Demolition Hammer.
Partially in the Bronx anyway.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Wow, I haven't heard that name in a long time.
Yeah.
Or even Helmet.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's and then just even so it's and then even other bands were adopting kind of more fusing more metal into their punk hardcore. Sick of It All,
That's
Scratch
right.
the Surface, Bad Brains with Quickness and stuff. So it's so all grunge did was really just kind of extend the metal arm. It really didn't kill it. It killed the hair metal bands, but as far as if anything, it just made thrash kind of step it up to a new direction.
That's right.
But it was, heck, I'll even admit that I didn't jump off the Metallica bandwagon. I wasn't mad at them for the Black Album.
Yeah, sure.
But after Shauna and Ish, the gloves were off, and it's so now I'm gonna have a purpose of playing guitar.
Wow. So was Shauna herself in a band, or she just played?
No, that's the thing. Shauna herself was not in a band,
Okay.
and she And she's also a very good singer. She has a really good voice. Like she could play and sing at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, but she was never in the band, and stuff is. I mean, she could just still play circles around me, like, you know. And I'm not, I'm not ashamed to admit that, but like it was because of her. You know, like if it wasn't for her, there wouldn't be, you know, Karnage.
Wow.
That's for sure. Well, I mean, Karnage is a name that I gave myself later as a rapper.
Okay, sure.
So
sure.
Karnage is a stage name that I've had, you know, since I was a rapper. And in any kind of music situation I'm in, I'm always Karnage.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but Shauna and Ish are the reasons. I mean, because I needed guidance,
yeah,
you know,
sure.
life with that instrument, and thanks to both of them, and thanks to, all right, actually I was just saying, let me do this in the order. Thanks to my stepfather thank you, Dan Griffin, for finding the adult education free guitar classes for 8 weeks, and Shauna and Ish for helping me shape my metal playing.
Wow.
Yes.
Now, you obviously already mentioned the high school you went to, Harry S. Truman. What junior high were you in when you moved to the Northeast Bronx? Which one do you go to?
John Philip Sousa, junior high school 142.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So, not so much a culture shock right away.
Okay.
Didn't realize how much of a culture shock it kind of was as time goes on, really, as you will.
Yeah.
You know, because I didn't think I was any different from them. I was like, oh yeah, first of all, didn't even occur to me, oh, predominantly black.
Yeah.
You know, junior high school, predominantly black junior high school, like some Latin kids, you know, thrown in there and stuff, maybe about 3 white kids.
Yeah,
It's nothing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I swear on the first day, they let me know exactly how different I was from them. Oh my God. Like, as soon as I came in, and like, because what happened is, like, I winded up in what would you call them? Like a 7-Eleven class.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
So,
see.
yes, no, not 7-Eleven like the store people.
Like
okay. Yeah,
with
like
the hot dogs rolling.
Yeah, exactly. No, 7-Eleven meaning, I guess maybe based upon our grade levels, if you will, like our, you know, classroom performance and our academics, whether it was math or English and, you know, science, whatever the case. Now, because I came in with an average, it's kind of considered a C average at the time. So, you know, I was good in other subjects, but they put me in the 7-Eleven class. Now, the 7-Eleven classes, you know, with the other kind of students. I'm not gonna say bottom of the barrel students or whatnot, but I guess what would be perceived as the kids, you know, like the class with the bad kids, and whatnot, and that's actually kind of what it was.
Yeah.
So I was like, I remember like my first day walking in, and I heard, you know, snapping on each other is one thing. That's, you know, that was nothing. You know, at elementary school, that, like, we did that.
Yeah.
But when I got there, talk about roast. I mean, a whole class roast. It's like, guys roasted me. The girls roasted me.
Oh, my God.
No. And like, what are you wearing? Like, what do you mean what I'm wearing? It's winter. It's like I'm trying to dress warm. It's like, yeah, well, you could dress warm, but you couldn't, I'm paraphrasing, like, you couldn't wear something better than that. Like, you come in here looking like Huckleberry Finn. I was saying, they roasted me, everything. And then just even when I'm talking, of course, the first thing they said was, why you talk like that? I said, talk like what? Like that. What do I talk like? What do I talk like? You talk like you're white. I'm like, what? I was like, no, I don't. I don't sound like I'm white. But because the school is right across from Edenwald Projects. Cardinal Spellman High School is over there. But then also down there is Westchester Houses. So it took me about a week or so. So I remember, like, I'm seeing things different. Like, wait a minute. Oh, shoot. It's like, all right. These are all black, and the school's predominantly black, but then I'm realizing it's mostly Caribbean as well. And I'm starting to discover and realize more and more that our area is predominantly, Caribbean, mostly Jamaican and stuff, which I didn't, was the way which was cool, because the first time I had a beef patty and cocoa bread, I said, I have not had this before.
I know, for real. For real.
But it was different in the sense because it's like I'm hearing people talking patois.
Yep.
And then also I'm hearing more urban slang than what I was used to hearing at junior high school 141 or even
or the elementary school.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm used to I'm hearing different kinds of slang. I'm seeing different kinds of things now. Wardrobe especially.
Sure.
Dress for the time. My first time seeing Jordans.
Yeah.
Little gold chains.
Yep.
Now little 3-finger rings.
Yep.
With 4-finger rings. Triple fat goose coat, which at the time was expensive. What else? Like going to that old look that I remember, from my elementary days, and like looking like that. Leather bombers,
That's right.
like Shelter Adidas, gone. It's like now it's about troops, Bally's. Oh God. And it's like I'm noticing also it's like these kids got money.
Yeah.
Like shit.
Yeah.
Like these kids got money. And then you slowly start to realize, because this is pretty much the youth involved in the crack era.
Yep.
So this is where young kids are selling, crack.
Yep.
And stuff. And they come into school, beepers, like I said, like really nice clothes,
For sure.
Jordans, like jeans, not Coogee sweaters for the time, but troop sweaters for the time, or maybe like something from Dapper Dan and stuff. Maybe not them per se, because that's a little too pricey even for 13, but like those years at John Philip Sousa were different, and this is where in junior high schools went up to 9th grade back then. So I pretty much have to say I got into a fight every grade. Sure. It's like I think it really, I really was that different. Looking back on it now, even though but also at the same time, it made for a good cultural exchange, because I got to discover, mind you, what's also exciting is like this at the time of dance hall reggae. So I'm getting to discover that. I'm like, hey, this is, I like this. It's like that. I was like, but and then also I could ride my bike under White Plains Road, under the train station, over by White Plains Road.
Yeah, sure.
And just like you'd hear sound classes coming from outside the reggae stores that were like reggae music record stores, where like maybe there was like one every other corner, every 2 corners.
Crazy.
Yeah, it was great. But and then of course, me being openly, proud of being a metalhead, and that junior high school,
were you dressing the part?
No, that's the thing. I've never dressed the part.
Yeah.
I've never dressed the part. Like as far as wearing the Metallica shirts or the Slayer T-shirts,
or
now
the jacket, or
anything with a whole bunch of patches. I mean, I think I had a denim jacket, and honestly, it only had one patch on it. It had the Kiss patch on it, and I had an Aerosmith patch in the front, like on the pocket. I mean, it's not too crazy. It's just, just enough. But like I'll never forget one day when I came in. I mean, so that was always enough, ammunition for them. Like, man, like you like that white people music, you like that kill your mother, kill your father, like, yep. And then it's like, it's not about that. It's like you misinterpreted it. It's not what they mean. But then with a song like Blackened by Metallica, see your mother put to death, see your mother die. It's like, all right, you kind of have a point, but no, they're talking about Mother Earth. Okay, so this is so being there, but it was okay because seeing this how I carried the flag for both, being representative of hip hop and a representative of metal, is like, so I would come in with magazines from both genres.
Absolutely.
And they just like, see, all right, now these are cool, but what's with these? They like it was almost like it was like heavy scrutiny every grade. I got to from 7th, 8th, 9th, and the thing is, like, even as I moved up in the academic levels, where I was in the higher higher classes, still getting the same shit. Wow. It's like, wow. Yeah, because I mean, really, and then for like, but it was good because there was also a few of those like who were actually like kind of afraid to. It's gonna sound bad, but who were afraid to come out about being a metalhead.
Yeah.
Like they were like. I guess maybe through me, I gave them confidence in some sense. So
sure,
yeah.
So there were a few kids at your junior high who were into it, huh?
Yeah, like 2. Me and 2 others.
And you didn't meet Shauna until Truman?
High school. Yeah, I didn't meet Shauna Jones and Ish Marquez. Yes, I didn't meet Shauna Jones and Ish Marquez until I was 17. Until my 11th grade.
Wow, wow. So aside from them, were there more like metalheads at Truman?
Yes, and they became my best friends, Amy Lionheart and her cousin Tracy Ouchler.
Okay.
And this other girl named Frances Mola. Now they were younger than me. They were because I came into Truman in 10th grade, and I remember hearing this girl, Frances, talking about she liked Poison. I'm like, oh, okay, good. Now this is how
Yep.
That's game. So when you going into high school, it's like, of course, the first thing some boys always looking for is the girls.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's like, for me, it's like at the time, like, oh, metalhead girls. Oh, wait a minute, she's Latin. Yes, all right. So I remember I came in with pictures of Poison to give it to her, and she screams like, ah! And she was a big Poison fan, and when she was such a big Poison fan, she wanted to be called Cece. But it was Frances Mola. But like we so all 3 of us became friends, and it's like so. She introduced me to Amy, and like Amy, myself, and Tracy, we started becoming more closer as friends. It's like especially Amy and I, and whatnot. And she was the first one to say, "Hey, because before that, I used to go, I would go down to J&R Music World to buy tapes." And so while I was still old enough, like when I was around 13, 14, I was going down there by myself. And It's Only Rock and Roll, the store that used to be on West 8th Street.
Oh, okay.
And Revolver Records, which was right next to it.
Sure.
So I was a mom and pop.
Yep.
But when I met them, they took me even further. They started to I was like, hey, yeah, we can go. It's like, do you like to go record shopping? Or do you like to go tape? It's like, hell yeah, I love to go tape shopping. And I told them where I go, and they were like, well, you can come with us. We're going to go a little further. And that's when I see the East Village. That's when I get to see, that's when I get to see by, going where CBGB's was. Continental, St. Mark's. That's it. St. Mark's Place, Astor Place. So over there was a completely different world than by West 8th Street and all that stuff. Yeah, so that excited me more. I was like, wait a minute, because they used to shop at Trash Vaudeville too, and whatnot, where you could buy your metal clothes at the time and whatnot. We still kind of can, but we used to go, and then once they showed me over there, and it's like, oh wait a minute, Bleecker Bob's was still back on the west side.
Yeah,
but
sure.
Showing me the East Village, and also more stores in which I could buy tapes. It was just so much had changed. Oh, goodness, like so. Yeah, so there, those and from Truman, those two, and Amy Lionheart and Tracy Outsler, because Frances Mola, she left after 10th grade. She transferred to another school, but Tracy, the same thing. She transferred to another school, and then Amy, she didn't wind up transferring to Herbert Lehman High School until her senior year.
Okay.
She left Truman. She didn't graduate from Truman, but again, I had already graduated and stuff. But them, Shauna, Ish Marquez is like, and they were the metal connection in high school in Truman. So they were, and I'd hang out with Amy and Tracy, probably hang out after school. Even though I worked at the New York Public Library after school. After school. But we would hang out on weekends.
Yeah.
Go down to the Village.
Wow.
And when those stores kind of closed, Revolver Records, and It's Only Rock and Roll, I think closed before I graduated high school.
Yeah.
So I was still able to go. So, but I was already excited by the East Village anyway. So, and another turning point too. So.
Wow. Now.
Yeah.
Do you remember what the first show that you went to was?
Mm-hmm. Living Color.
It
was. I don't even know how I heard about it. I think I must have heard about it on WNEW because it was a free concert. It's called Rock Against Racism.
Oh, okay, sure.
It was. Honestly, don't ask me who else played that day.
Yeah.
And now, because it's not like now where it's sent as a post, on Facebook or Instagram or something. They mentioned it on the radio. Yeah. And I distinctly remember I called my friend Meredith, said, Meredith, did you hear? Because now Meredith Conyers, rest in peace to her. She's a friend of mine I grew up with. She was a year younger than me. She used to her grandmother lived on my block. And stuff. So she would come up and visit her grandmother. Meredith lived on 89th in Columbus, and so that was actually my first black cohort in our love for metal together. Wow. So yes, that was my first one. I was 13, she was 12, so wow. She was the first. Yeah, she was the first one. She was open with it too. It's like, yeah, I love Guns N' Roses. Yes, I love it. I'm like, oh, this is like, I love Def Leppard. I love Metallica. Wow. So yeah, she was. Anyway, that's all I miss her. But yeah, from that, but there was. I'm sorry, say that again.
Your first
Living
show.
Color.
I think was that in Central Park?
Yes, it was at the Central Park band show.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was the summer. So it was the summer of 1988. Summer of 1988. That was, I gotta say, that's the going record. That's my favorite summer.
Wow.
Ever. Yeah, I mean, I have favorite summers, but that one is my most favorite summer. And I remember I called her, said, we have to go see Living Color. And so she came down and we met there, and it was the first of everything for me. Like it being my first concert, my first rock concert, my first rock show, metal show. Yeah. And my first pit. I mean, not like how pits I would see later.
Yes.
Like,
not like.
Oh, big difference. Not like those.
Yeah,
sure. But
still a pit.
Yeah, but still a pit. Just I hadn't really seen it pit. I really kind of hadn't. Yeah, I really hadn't seen the pit that much yet, and it being my first, and it was so great is that my first my first concert being a black rock group. It's like that right there.
Yep.
Hit me so hard, and it's like because it's like now I had something to tell people. Like, look, we got one.
Yep.
It was like because I kind of knew but I wasn't that familiar with Bad Brains
For sure.
Too much yet until when Living Colour, when they got their award at the Grammys, and they said this is for bands like Bad Brains, Fishbone, and
Yep.
stuff, and I'm like, okay, now
you look them up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, look them up the best way you could.
Yeah. It's hard to do at that point.
And that was another, that changed. I mean, I didn't need any more inspiration after that. And it's like, and I didn't need to prove anything to anybody after that anymore. But like, look, there's a black band out there.
Yep.
It's like, oh yeah, no, yeah, Living Colour. Yeah, it sound good. It's just like really people were just so resistant to but I don't think it was just people of color that were just resistant towards it, but other people too and stuff, because you also have you also have your goth types at the at the time, and it's just like, ugh, you listen to that metal.
Yep.
God, it's so druid and so caveman. And I mean, they weren't lying about some of it, but still, it's like you couldn't deny the technical feel of it, or just even the overall feel that some of those bands made you feel. It gave you like.
Right.
I mean, especially the big five. For the time, like. They gave you something. But it was, that concert and seeing it with Meredith, and it's like for both of us, it was, it was like, it was a turning point. It was another turning point. It's like, I felt even more and more inspired to so I just kept growing and growing as an individual through music. And then also it opened up more of my music taste and stuff. So opened up more. So up and down more of my music taste. I started getting into punk. I started getting into, I guess what was alternative before it was called alternative.
Sure.
Yeah. So I started getting into garage rock, and let's see, getting into heavier hip hop too.
Sure.
Even to a degree, I hadn't really been bit by the funk and jazz bug yet.
Okay.
But like as far as like my and then heck, and then from within that, it's like I would go back and listen to the classic groups. Like
sure.
I would go back and buy Black Sabbath tapes, or I would buy Led Zeppelin tapes. I was really just being a sponge and just absorbing as much as I could. But I guess that's what you do at that, at that age.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And I mean, what a spectacular era for hip hop albums too that were coming out. I mean, yeah.
And it's like, and that's the thing what people don't realize. It's like, within that time, as great hip hop albums and great, rock, metal albums were coming out at the same time too. Yeah. So it's like, it's like, so we can't really, one doesn't exist without, the other in the sense, because they were both shaping youth culture for that time, and both of those cultures were running parallel. And this is the time where it's like, the music was changing because it was driven by a new youthful zeal.
That's right.
And I think thrash needed to go through something like that, because for the most part, it's like thrash was your older brothers or your older sisters music, and it's like if you're getting into it, you're getting into it because of them. It's yours, but you don't get to embrace it until you find those bands that you're able to embrace, and to the bands that sound like where your generation is going.
Sure, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also the period where you get you know, even like some of the crossover between like hip hop and especially like hardcore, like Sick of It All and KRS-One being on the same bill multiple times.
I know,
you know, like,
yeah.
that's crazy. I would give anything to see those shows. Like,
I know, yeah, it'd be even great to see what that must have been like.
Yeah,
You know, I wonder how the reaction was. Like, how did each crowd react to each other, kind of thing.
That's right.
I mean, because, like, if you think now, because think about that now, with something like that, because even within, I guess, that kind of real hip-hop, as they call it now, now you're still seeing mostly white kids.
That's true.
It's like, I mean, now, unless it's, I'll say this now, unless it's another kind of group where it's rooted in, where they were kind of rooted in the hood, if you will, and stuff. Like, the brothers and sisters are going to show up, but they're also my age, too. So
right.
they're not
the younger audience is not.
Not really. Now, they may show up, they may go to a Wu-Tang because maybe a Wu-Tang or a Nas or, like our 90s golden era, brothers and sisters. They may go see them because there's still, as like, it has, I guess because of what they know about it, and it's still there, so it's still fresh. Like it's still fresh. It's not so much fresh, but it's history and a legacy that they kind of told. Okay, well, we should probably see a Wu-Tang or some of it, or see some of the members do their own individual shows or something like that. Or, but it's just that. But like as far as the crossover when it was happening, it's like some did it good and some were just terrible at it.
That's right.
But at least at least the effort was made. I mean, so at one point in time, it's like, look, it's like those skater kids out there in Sacramento called the Deftones are listening to hip hop too, just as much as they're listening to Anthrax and and those kids out there in Bakersfield, Korn, they're doing the same thing. Like those guys out there in LA with Rage Against the Machine, they're doing the same. It's like, but I think, but I just think for the fact that, it had felt more youth driven, and it just felt like, I think the slowing down the thrash is also probably a little bit more, welcoming for anyone who's probably playing guitar. I know it was more welcoming for me and stuff. Like it was more welcoming for me to sit there and learn the walk than to like really try to sit there for friggin' 8 hours and learn the title track to "And Justice for All."
Oh, absolutely. And even though in like the faster stuff, some of it there is tremendous groove to it. But when it slowed down, you could hear and feel the groove a lot more too.
Yes.
Sorry. But wow. So you mentioned, your musical like world was like kind of always expanding to this point. Mm-hmm. Do you remember the first like hardcore show that you went to?
Yeah. Okay. The first real like I guess kind of close to what would be seen as a hardcore show, was when I went to. It was at Mullally Park. So
no way!
It was the Super Bowl of hardcore. And there was now mind you, I'd always been hearing hardcore on campus. I went to SUNY Purchase, by the way.
Okay,
sure. So I went to SUNY Purchase, and so there were always there was this one brother, Jerome Annam, and I remember he came in my sophomore year, and he he was cool, but it's just that it was like, dang, he got some big dreads. It's like, damn, what's this brother with the DOS Effects dreads? Like you see him and stuff, but he was just like kind of like a quiet cat, and like, yo, what's up, y'all? Like, shit, what's up, man? What's your name, y'all? My name's Jerome. And it's like he was always into different, kind of music too. But he was, he started this band on campus, like a really heavy band, like, and he played guitar for it. And that another inspirational thing. Like, shit, like, I didn't know that cat could play like that. He just seems like the quiet dude and whatnot, but and he's blistering ass riffs, and it's like, that kind of the hardcore. So, but that wasn't my first. So that was my first time kind of seeing it on campus.
I see.
Being done by students, but like my first official one, seeing it was like bands that had some names that I would become to know. Names that I would get to know later. Was at Malali Park, and it was the Super Bowl of Hardcore. So that was 1996.
Okay, that was the year the Sick of It All was there.
Well, see, that's the thing. There's conflicting stories about that, at least from my perspective, because I know when I went, Sick of It All didn't play. So maybe it was 2 days or something, because the day I went, District 9 played.
Okay,
and no redeeming social value.
Okay.
I guess maybe now I'm guessing maybe Fahrenheit played. They probably played earlier.
I see.
Or something like that. But I wasn't sure how it was going, because it was just, the flatbed truck out there with, with the flatbed truck stage. And I only really got there, by the time we got there, aside from watching and seeing everybody skating around, and again, I'm bugging out. I'm impressed because I'm looking around like, wait a minute. It's mostly brown people here.
Yep.
Stuff like. And so that, again, being awestruck again. I'm like, wait a minute. So this has probably always been here. It's just that they've just probably needed an outlet, to go in which they can hear the music they like and probably be around other people. Hopefully see other like-minded individuals or other people that look like them, and it's like, oh shit, I'm not alone in this in this journey right now, because for a lot of years, actually probably, who knows, for as many of us that have grown up as people of color who love this kind of music, it's like we've always had that lone wolf factor, and it's like we always kind of roam around hoping to meet others like us, but when you come across pretty much a virtual little small country, like, oh shit, what is this? Where have I been? Like, you come across like a little nation, like, what?
Yeah.
Where's this been?
Yeah.
But that's the South Bronx for you, so that's where it could happen, because the rest of the Bronx is just so spread out that it's kind of,
that's right.
But that was. And I remember seeing that. So I saw District 9 and No Redeeming Social Value, and there was this other band. I forget who they were, but my friends and I, we only wound up seeing 3 bands. And
do you remember how many people were in the other band?
Yeah, 4.
4. I wonder who that was.
Maybe it was.
I'm
5.
sure other people mentioned. I'll have to go back and look. But
yeah.
Wow. So. Did you get into the pit at that show?
Oh no! Now mind you, because here's the thing. Now this is where what I'm realizing also is, like, in terms of how pit dancing is, that's when you really start to see the change, because you see more of hands, legs, windmills, and then the infamous scissor kicks.
Yes.
So when I'm first seeing that, I'm like, damn, this is way different from the just the traditional bumping, pushing, but also, so I kind of stayed away from the pits in that sense, because, well, it looked a little scary, I'm not gonna lie, at first, but also at the same time, it looked like I better know what I'm doing. I don't want to go in there and look stupid. Like, I don't want to go in there and look like I don't have any rhythm. I don't have any, like, what's this guy doing? Oh, God, please, somebody get him out of there. Like, they just want to rough me up on purpose because I can't dance. Like, get the fuck out of here. Yeah. When you come back when you learn how to dance, dance this shit. Because that's how it looked. It really looked like that. Because, I hadn't seen... Again, because that was another world, for me too. Because I'd never been to a matinee show, and anything like that. So I consider myself late to the party in a sense.
Yeah.
While I was always, I was always seeing like other bands, like I was seeing the Deftones. I'd seen them in concert. Already, I'd seen. I think I'd seen. Yeah, no, actually, I'd seen Deftones quite a few times. I mean, me being on campus, I didn't really leave it that much, but seeing Cypress Hill, Beastie Boys,
sure,
and stuff. So. But, like, I never, like, as a teenager, I'd never been to a matinee. Rarely knew that they were happening. I would always see, in effect, they would have, like, their advertisements in, like, Circus Magazine or Hit Parade. Or so they would,
sure.
they would put their advertisements in major magazines and stuff. But the whole culture of that was happening with the matinees, like, as a teenager, had no idea that was going on. And I didn't know anyone that that went down there and like, hey, Kyle, you want to come down? You should really, like, you want to come down and see some young kids playing music? And like, yeah. Like, didn't have that kind of network, didn't have that kind of liaison downtown.
That's right.
But if I did, and it probably would have, but you know what, maybe it's kind of good because who knows where I, would have been and stuff. Sometimes, actually a lot of times things happen for a reason, and it's like, but I mean, after seeing that show, then definitely, and I was still in college, so, and mind you, I've been playing guitar on campus still, but I was a rapper, known as mostly a rapper on campus.
Sure.
And with my other friends, I said, hey, with the other music majors, I remember this guy said, Alex Ivy, who was a film major, he said, hey, why don't we start a band? And I was like, okay. He's like, I can't really play guitar that well, but you can play. You can, and I can learn. We can learn together, and I mean, I can learn through you and stuff. And so that's that's what happened. But that sparked me, and like, okay, I don't know if I can necessarily like play these same like chords or whatever all the time, beat down riffs and stuff, but it was infectious, and I felt like I can do something like this too, but like in a different way and stuff because I already have other music tastes.
Absolutely.
So it was that was really like my first one, but really after that when I graduated from Purchase and I moved out on my own, living by myself. That first year, 1998 to 1999, is when I really started to see the change. So I'm going to shows like every week, every weekend and stuff. So that's when because during okay, we may get into that story, but because I met Gigi from Proof of Purchase.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I remember she gave me a mixtape of all these bands on it, but. What she did is she gave me one side was a band's full album, the other side was a mix of songs. The first side was E-Town Concrete.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that actually kind of becomes one of the first bands that I start to like and follow out of the whole new fusion of metalcore bands. For some reason I guess maybe because of the rap and the metal, but I felt like, I was like, they kind of get this right. I mean, the N-word being used, well, what can't really do about it. But, I was like, but I liked it. I became I became a fan. I, would go see them anytime they came to New York or whatever.
Yeah.
But like them, I would follow them, Crisis, and... Oh God, yeah, pretty much them, Crisis, and it's like whomever follow Irate.
Oh, Irate, sure.
Because when we weren't when the other bands when majority of the other bands were still playing just mostly either up here like mostly in the Bronx and whatnot, or if they would or they would probably wind up doing ABC No Rio sometimes,
sure.
Or there would be this other small spot in
Queens?
No, well,
okay.
Yeah, they would do Castle Heights, but there was another smaller spot in Manhattan. I think the Spiral.
Oh, the Spiral.
The Spiral.
The
Spiral.
We got some photos of some of them at the Spiral. Yeah.
Yeah, the Spiral.
The Spiral. I got you.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's what so it was being late to the party, but that show in Mullally Park.
But yeah, not that late, because that, at least as far as the Bronx is concerned, that's one of the most important shows that took place in the Bronx. So you were right there for it. So
yeah, and I was like, this is it. No, I felt like this is it. You know, I'm looking around like, oh, this is it. You know, and now did we set on the path to sound exactly like all the bands were doing? No, but it was inspiring.
Absolutely,
sure. It was definitely inspiring.
Now, do you remember some of the other? You mentioned Irate already, but some of the other like Bronx bands or Bronx like venues that you went to during these years?
During these years, there were, well, the thing is, aside from Bronx Underground, how I got to know these bands is because, well, most of them were playing out of the Bronx.
That's
they
right.
weren't playing like so. How I first met them all was at the studio party at Funkadelic. Funkadelic Studios when it used to be on 26th Street, and so that is how actually who met them first. It was Jerome.
Okay.
Jerome Annam. He met Mel O'Reilly and he met Adi. Okay. I forget Adi's last name, but you met Adi, and they were both singers together.
Yeah.
Okay, I remember they were because we met them at a studio party. We met them at that Funkadelic studio party, and that's when I got to meet all the bands. That's when I met Rights Reserved, Gardamentes, Irate, Proof of Purchase.
Absolutely.
Oh God, who else am I leaving out? Four in the Chamber. Actually, pretty much all of them were on that, except District 9. District 9 didn't play that show.
Yeah.
But I remember it was a studio party in the big room.
Yeah.
At Funkadelic, and then what happened is that we stayed in touch with Mel O'Reilly and Adi, and said, hey, why don't you guys, like, we're a band, because at the time it was a 3-piece. Xiakuan was a 3-piece. It was myself, yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize you were part of Xiakuan. Oh, yeah. Mel talked a lot about Xiakuan.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, Xiakuan. I was the guitarist.
And that's Xiakuan.
Yes,
but
right? But that was Jerome's idea to spell it like that. And it's like you know what? As cool as that is, it's gonna always like be confusing on how to pronounce it.
Yeah.
So that's when we just made it regular, Sha, S-H-A, Quan. But Mel sang for us for a year. Okay. But Adi, he only came to a few rehearsals, and just as we were about to maybe do a show, something happened. He couldn't do it. And so he never really came back. He got sent to Florida by his parents. But Mel hung in there with us. But it was through Mel we were able to play like Castle Heights at times, just play shows with other bands, and also kind of form camaraderies with those other bands too. So he's the link in how we as Xiakuan got to know them, because we were hanging out at that show and whatnot, and like we now Jerome, myself, and the drummer named was Anthony Espinoza.
Okay.
Yeah, he so we were the trio, but we still kept doing it ourselves as a trio, and still kept going, and then we meet those two, and then one doesn't work out, but then we still stay with Mel. So most of the time we played Castle Heights. Now there's the only other venue in the Bronx was the Blackthorn.
Now it's right down the road. Yeah. Did you ever play the Blackthorn? You went, yeah.
Yeah, and now here's the thing: we played the Blackthorn as a trio. So we never got to play. First, because after Mel wasn't with us for a year, after Mel sang with us for a year, and then we just kind of going in a different direction.
Yeah.
And so we still stayed a trio. Probably we stayed a trio up until the band broke up and I joined another band and stuff. But yeah, we stayed a trio for like the past 6 years after.
Wow.
And so we still kept going, but they weren't really. I mean, and I don't know if any of the other bands will tell you the same thing, but because there weren't that many, places to play in the Bronx, it's like you either had to do a DIY, party if you can get the space if you're lucky, or play down in Manhattan.
Yep.
You all put a bill together. You play down in Manhattan.
Yep.
Or you play Castle Heights.
Yep.
Or if you can get somewhere out in Brooklyn. But
sure.
Depending on if people from the Bronx were willing to travel, to Brooklyn. Maybe if it's downtown Brooklyn, because there were certain pockets there in downtown Brooklyn where it'd be like this little, not a little hole in the wall, but it'd be like a little, loft or whatever, and they're doing shows there and whatnot. So for Bronx bands, we unfortunately didn't have, the kind of venues that would have probably helped, made the music scene a little bit more solid, because if we all had a common place that we all played out of, I mean, you can imagine what that could have done for. And it's like, and then also I think probably a lot of the bands would have stayed together, maybe, or I mean, or even if they are still together, whatever, but maybe want to write more new music because there's other places to play.
That's right.
And so as far as the Bronx and venues, the only one, the Blackthorn, Bronx Underground, and if we weren't putting together something ourselves, so we were always, but then because it got to a point, it's like, okay, well, it's like we ourselves had to travel out.
Yeah.
I think so. I think that's what happened with a lot of us, with a lot of our bands. Now, I can say for myself with Xiakuan, because we already came, and I don't want to say we came into the scene like we were already established. Like, it wasn't anything like that. It's just that we were already our own kind of, entity and stuff. So, but it was great to have met. It was great to have met this, this community of bands that we didn't know about. And what was even particularly great was the simple fact that they were all young, just like we were, the young Black Latinos, men, women, and it was, so that was really the special point, the special moment, a very special time too. And it seemed like for that show, for those 2 to 4 years in which we all kind of were evolving around each other or revolving around each other, it was, it was something good. It was magical because we really literally had our own kind of world. I mean, and one of the things that to me was a shame was that you really didn't get to see too many of those bands like play with like the bigger, bigger dogs as much as they could have. Like maybe a few got to break out and do that, like maybe Irate and District 9.
Yeah.
But like the rest of us, not too much. And there was there was talent there. There was definitely talent. Now I think one of the things is that because like everybody loved singing, hard and rough at the same time. And it's like so it was. So if it weren't for the music, they probably wouldn't. No, actually, that's not true. You were still able to distinguish, who was who.
Yeah, sure.
Everybody. So that's what I liked about it. I mean, heck, one of the cool things about Proof of Purchase is when Marty would pull out the trumpet sometimes.
I know. I know.
Yeah, and it was interesting because like how we fit into it is like they kind of as like they saw Xiakuan as like, what would they say? Oh yeah, you guys like hardcore plus. Hardcore plus. Well, yeah. So no, because I mean we initially sounded different from everyone. Yeah. So it's just like, but and it's like, so I guess in through Mel, he's the reason that I became, associated, with those bands. And I mean, actually, yeah, he's the reason. Like, so yeah, sure. Like he's the reason. I mean, the fact that he lives in Harlem and he's telling us about, and like, who found that studio party? I think it was Jerome who had found out about that studio party. That's how.
I see.
Yeah, so.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
And with Xiakuan, did you record anything?
Yes, we did. We recorded one EP.
Okay.
And now, mind you, it's not on any label, and it's not so it's not like it was on Eyeball Records or In Effect or Revelation or something like that, or like a really good mom and pop label that has good distribution. No, it was recorded on our own. We recorded ourselves at, I mean, basically you could say we produced it ourselves.
Yeah,
too.
Sure.
We did it at Astoria Soundworks.
Okay.
And we had really great engineers at the time, Tom and Rick, and we just recorded straight to Pro Tools. As opposed to like now where there's, where Pro Tools has the analog, has the analog software in it, and then you mix and, Pro Tools, you mix and master in Pro Tools. So, I mean, people are still recording analogs, but they still have, or even really good qualities of their rehearsal, tapes, and it's still, I'm like, damn, shit still sound better now. What the fuck, man? But we managed to mix 5 songs. Like the rest are unmixed and unmastered, and it's called 3 the Hard Way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it only exists on CD. You can't find it online because, as I'm telling you about Xiakuan, and as we're talking about the Bronx, scene at the time, it predates the internet.
That's
right. Well, no, it doesn't predate the internet. It predates social media.
Yeah, sure.
It's like you still have. Like MySpace hasn't even really happened yet.
It's like chat rooms and things.
Yeah,
like that.
if that.
GeoCities or something.
Yeah. Oh God. you used to have to go. Oh, you can find our music at such and such. Our band name is /GeoCities.
Yep, I remember that.
Oh God. And so completely no idea and to a degree, social media is a necessary evil for that.
Yeah,
because if we had, just think about it. If most of us local bands just continued with the model of that time, oh my God.
That's right.
Who knows where, we probably just quit. I can't do this anymore. I'm done. It's too much has not changed, and so as I was and that's another thing too, since most of us, predate social media, not the internet.
That's right.
The internet's always been there, but we predate social media. So it was a lot of word of mouth, flyers. That's right. Now Xiakuan, we had played CBGBs a couple of times. We usually play that with bands that already played there, like Reconstruction.
Okay.
Who else? Actually, yeah, mostly Reconstruction because they had their own movement going on with 3 other bands, with Birthmark and M16.
Okay.
So we had this. They usually have us on the bills with them also and whatnot, or we'd play Don Hill's The Lovely Nikki Camp. So. But
Yep.
So
he's the one who did the Blackthorn too, right?
Yeah, he did the Blackthorn, and he also did the him and John from Castle Heights did the Blackthorn out in Queens.
The one in Queens, that's right.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Which is a pain in the behind to get to.
Yep.
But it sounds so good in there. It really does.
Yeah.
But there was a place in Mount Vernon.
Oh, okay. What was the place in Mount Vernon? Was it Was it still the Lowdown?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah,
the Lowdown.
Yes, the Lowdown. It's still there. No.
I don't know if it's still there, but
I was gonna say,
but it wasn't. It was called the Lowdown in the '80s. I just forget when it stopped being called. You know, when it stopped. But all right,
yeah,
so
we
Lowdown
played
was
there.
still around.
Yeah, Lowdown was still around at that
Okay.
time. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, they just. But I think because most of us, we just kind of had to play out of the Bronx.
That's right. That's
all
right.
the time.
That's right.
You
Now, before Xiakuan, were you in were there other bands that you were in before you joined up with them?
Well, Xiakuan formed in college.
Okay, so that was the first.
Xiakuan formed at Purchase.
That's the one that formed at Purchase. I see.
Yeah, because Jerome,
Wow.
myself, and Anthony Espinosa, we all went to Purchase.
I see. Okay.
Yeah,
okay,
and
okay.
Alex Ivy, he was a film major. He went to Purchase also. But when I got to Purchase, within about a month or so, I wrote my first rap, like my first real serious rap, and so I wound up joining a rap group on camp.
Wow.
Yeah, they were called the Purchase Rhyme Crew, but now they're called Get Open.
Okay.
And so they changed their name after about my sophomore year. So we changed their name, and that's when I became Karnage finally, because my first rap name, y'all, was K-Dog. Whatever. It's like, look, 18 years old, 19, it's like, so I'm still finding myself.
That's right.
That's right. But at 19, that summer, I came back, in my sophomore year. I was like, wait a minute. I said, guys, I got a new rap name. Well, we hung out during the summer anyway, but I was like, I have a new rap name. It's Karnage. Like, really? Like, yeah. Like, where'd you, from the Spider-Man villain? I was like, yeah, but of course I'm going to spell it with a K, not with a C. And so it's been Karnage ever since.
Wow.
Yeah, but that was my first musical venture.
Wow.
And the thing is like, so I became more, so as I grew, my popularity grew on campus as one, like the quiet guy who works in the library. And then also, like, that's the same guy that's the rapper who raps with Get Open. Like, yeah, it's me.
Yep.
It was like, wow, like, you're completely, different people. Like, yes.
It's your superhero identity.
Yeah,
right?
superhero identity.
Or
That's
super
right.
villain.
Yeah, well, I know. Yeah, it's everybody's favorite villain.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
But and from there, and so what happened is that the I Get Open crew is like they we had some lineup changes, that being that I was no longer a part of it.
Yeah.
But I still stayed on. But I was and I think two had left Purchase to go somewhere else, and two had graduated. So it was like, so there's no real reason for them to be on campus anymore, and stuff. So they're out there in the world, actually, fully exploring and pursuing and doing their music. And I'm still on campus, whatever. Keep my popularity. And then that's when I formed, when Alex Ivy asked us to form, our first band, the prequel to Xiakuan, which we would call Simp. We were kind of like, because Alex Ivy was very much into Kurt Cobain at the time. He was very much into Nirvana at the time, and he even sounded like him when he'd sing. Which isn't bad, like, but riff wise, when we write songs, because he was still learning guitar and stuff, so he's learning through writing songs, and people like myself, Jerome, and Anthony Espinosa were there to help him bring it together. Be like, okay, let's do this. Because he still doesn't know yet, but he is like, so we started Simp, and then he leaves after, he leaves a year later after it and stuff, and then, so, and mind you, Anthony and myself, we graduated Purchase, so we still continue. And Jerome had already left Purchase also. He didn't graduate, but he left, but we still still kept it together. We would go and rehearse. We'd go down to Funkadelic and rehearse, or we go up to Music Unlimited and rehearse.
Westchester, right?
Yeah. Damn. We'd go there, and but then we just kept playing and stuff, because also he used to work at this studio, Vinny's Music and Rental.
Okay.
Way down there on, I want to say 26th and 9th or something, or 10th, way down there.
Down there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we kept the band going.
Okay. Wow.
We kept the band going. So yes, to answer your question, so my first musical foray was rapper. I still rap.
That's right.
Mr. Karnage, Trouble Exposure, plug in the EP. Okay, music by Black Crane. You may know him as the guitarist, Mr. Anthony Solis from Ma'afa, and the 1865. Wow. Yeah, and then Simp, and then became Xiakuan. And
wow.
Yes, and then I stayed together for about 10 years.
Wow. And then Rebelmatic was right after Xiakuan time-wise, or there were other things in between?
It was other things in between. It was still me rapping in between, and it was still, but I played in BR and Time Bomb, which is a live hip-hop band that I winded up playing with.
Wow.
Yeah, which was a good experience, and it was the break in between, the years of playing, heavy music and whatnot. So it was cool. It was like, I wanted to do it because it was a challenge, and I felt like I would enjoy it. And because when I first saw them, it was my friend Charles Butterfield, his band at the time, Reign of Kings. They were playing at this place called The Underscore, and he it's always every year when it's his birthday, his band would play, and I would go with them. So it's one particular night, and his band walks in. First thing I see is this woman carrying a violin. I'm like, okay, and the woman carrying a trumpet case. And I know what a trumpet case looks like.
Yeah,
it's like, huh. And then the guy carrying his bass, and another guy walking in. Well, carrying a clothes case, but
sure.
Yeah. And then this guy carrying his drums, and he looks like Common. As I walk up to them immediately, and as the story goes, I'm drunk and I walk up to them looking like the Sith Lord. Hey. Do you guys need a guitarist? I'm asking them before I even hear them play. It's like, and then they played, and like as soon as their set was over, I walked up to them. I said, "You need a guitar." I said, "I'm your guitarist."
Yeah.
And like, oh, okay. So I was like, so who do I talk to? And it's like, and then again, now mind you, this is at the time when there is MySpace.
Sure.
You can
a little easier.
Yeah, so it's much easier. Point. Yeah, so he sends me the music, and I was with them for 5 years, and it was great. With them was my first time like kind of playing out of New York.
I see.
So so we'd go to Chicago. We had been to DC. We even played Oberlin because the drummer Jabril Noor, who looked like Common, and then Jabril Noor, rest in peace. Damn. It's funny. I've lost quite a few musicians and friends throughout, my 51 years on this earth. So it's like, you got to be careful because, listen, take care of yourself, people. All right? Or just whatever. If there's a health issue that you have that can be prevented, fix it.
Yep.
If it's something that, unfortunately, if it becomes beyond your control and this is where your fate is, then okay. But if it's something that can be prevented, please do it. But,
absolutely.
And Chanel Jenkins, they went to Oberlin College in Oberlin, Ohio.
I see.
So we played there. But through them was really one of my first times like playing music outside of New York.
Yeah.
Now we Get Open, we played music outside of Purchase College, but we were doing it at other colleges like SUNY Plattsburgh or Bard College. But like to actually go to other states with BR and Time Bomb was my first time, and it was a good challenge for me because I'm playing more cleaner guitar, so like and using like distortion when I have to, and just like maybe like more for crunch as opposed to to chug, and I'm rapping and playing guitar at the same time, so I'm incorporating that, and because I'm the old singer in the band because there used to be 2 singers, so it was a 7-piece when I joined, and then when Erica Cato left, and then became 6 of us, but then, and it's like she was the first one like, oh, Kyle raps. Like Karnage raps. I mean, and so I was like, yeah. And then the lead rapper at the time, BR, is like, we should probably start incorporating them more together and stuff. But yeah, and then his brother started rapping because they were related. That was his brother on drums, and BR was a singer, rapper. But and the bassist, funny thing is like, because what was great about joining them is like I already joined a unit of people who knew each other, so it was like a family, because Jabril, Chanel, and the bassist, Black Velvet, they went to Midwood High School. All 3 of them in Brooklyn.
I see.
Yeah, all 3 of them. So it's like you join in a band and people already know each other, and it's like, and I was a challenge for them in the sense that I was an outsider, not a challenge like that, but it's like because anybody who they'd had on guitar before that was a reference from someone, so I was like the first outsider, that they kind of met.
Yeah. Wow. So what happened after that group with your music?
I still kept going, I still kept doing music, still kept writing. I was trying to start another project, which I do have, but it has been in the works. It's like my version of Detox by Dr. Dre.
Okay.
It's called Rebel Street Opera, where I wanted to do something different, where I play guitar over sample drum breaks. I'll come up with my own original music, and it's finally finished. Jesus. Well, that's because the next group that we get involved in is the reason why I'm definitely reborn, rejuvenated, and that's because of Rebelmatic. So it's like, so in that in between time, and I'm still writing rap songs. I'm still like recording at home, with my recording software and stuff, and it's just, but that's what I ended up doing. At some point I had to, because that band broke up.
Yeah.
And now when I joined them, they were already together 5 years.
Oh, okay.
So I was with them in their last 5 years, and not saying one day they dropped the bomb on me, but they just dropped the bomb that the brothers, like, they're breaking the group up. Like, but it was fun. I did have, I'm still friends with all of them to this day and stuff. Well, even Jabril from up there, I'm so, but it's but like they after them was Rebelmatic. After them was a brief reunion of Xiakuan.
Okay.
And then Rebelmatic.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
How'd you meet the other guys in Rebelmatic? Did you know them already?
No, I met Creature because here's another one. P. Fluid.
All right.
Played it for us. Black Vampire. He had a meeting. Because they were going to do it, because he wanted, he knew of all of us. He knew of our band. And that was one thing about Forrest. He seemed to be very much like, on the pulse of who was doing what bands and who the bands were. And how he wanted, because he wanted the show to be mostly black, heavy bands. So, still a small pool of us. So, it's like, so, but especially at that time.
Yeah, sure.
And so he called for a meeting, and it was at, then it was called Port 41. It was on 41st and 8th Avenue.
Okay.
Not 8th Avenue, 9th Avenue. It was
9th
between.
Avenue, okay.
Yeah, it was like on the end. So it's like kind of between. Yeah, between actually it's between 8th and 9th, but we're walking, and there's two of us both standing there, and we just exchanged. It's like, hey, what's up, right? Like, you here for the meeting with Forrest? I'm like, yeah. And he goes, oh, what's your name? And I go, oh, my name is Karnage. And like, all right, like, what's your band? I go, my band is Xiakuan. And I was like, what's your name? And he goes, oh, I'm Creature. It was like, my band is Rebelmatic. I'm like, oh, okay. And we just started talking and saw how much we had in common, like as far as growing up the same way, kids of rap and metal, and it's just. And like we talked, and our bands played that show the show that night, and I used to go see Rebelmatic before I joined them.
Oh, okay. Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So and that's how I wound up meeting everyone else at the time. Doc Burns.
Yeah.
Alcatraz, Styx.
Yeah.
And Creature already knew. So I would still go to see them. At least every time when they had gotten a new bass player at the time, Supremo Massive. He's a musician that like very eclectic taste, does a lot of different things, plays with a lot of different people. So one day Creature calls me because they're Doc Burns. I guess they kicked him out or something to that effect, or he just left on his own accord. I don't know. But Creature asked me, he said, hey, I seen you. I was like, I know you play guitar, but would you be interested in joining Rebelmatic as a bassist? It's like, well, that's interesting. And I was like, well, I can apply the same kind of, method. The only difference is I'll just be using a pick. I can play with my fingers, of course.
Yeah, sure.
But funny thing is that it's just strange to him asking me to play bass, because the only thing I was upset about was like, all right, great. Now I gotta buy another instrument. Now I gotta buy another kind of amp. Now you're like, come on. But I'm glad I did that, because it's funny. It's like one of the things when I joined Rebelmatic, like there hadn't been like it wasn't a loss of momentum. It was like just kept going. Like I got my first show with them. I think happened after about 2 months of rehearsal, maybe 2 or 3 months of rehearsal.
And what year did you join with them?
Well, let's see.
Around what year, I guess?
Where are we at right now? We're in 2025.
Yeah.
So I joined them. I've been with now 12 years.
Okay, yeah.
So that's like 2008, 2018. No.
2013, I guess, right? 2013. Okay.
2013.
Because they'd already been together for a few years, and
I joined them in 2013.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, talk about your first show with them then.
Well, I would like to be honest to say that I remember where my first.
No, I know you played so many shows with them at this point.
And that's the thing. At this point, I played so many shows with them. We played so many shows, that as like not say they all run together, but most of them they kind of do. Right? But especially those early years, which I played with them. Let's see if I had to. Let's just let's say that my first show with them was at the Wetlands.
Okay.
And not Wetlands. I'm sorry, Knitting Factory.
Oh, at the Knitting Factory
in Brooklyn.
Okay.
That's where it was. That was one of my first shows with them.
Okay.
All right, and then other places like I think Gussie's in Astoria, and then at some point. Well, no, this is where I laid the drummer, but then after Styx, because then at some point we played Irving Plaza with a friend of Creatures. It was who was headlining? It was a show with Rob Sonic and ASAP Rock.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I'm sorry, not ASAP Rock, Aesop Rock.
Yeah.
But it's like we just in that first year I think I played Afro punk with them too.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, my first year in Rebelmatic I played Afro punk.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
And of all the shows you played with them, you know, are there like, you know, one or two that like stick out as the ones that like, you know, you'll never forget?
After our first tour, like our first time going out and touring, in Cookeville, Tennessee, we played the Muddy Roots Festival.
Okay.
Yeah, and mind you, and here we are, pretty much like unknown to, like we're there to be direct support before Weed Eater, and the response for the audience was great.
Yeah,
as like they knew who we were. It's almost like they knew they were reacting to us like they knew who we were.
Yeah,
and we won them over so much that I like anytime we play Tennessee or even like a state close to it, people who'd seen us at the Muddy Roots Festival will come there and come to see us. Or if we're playing somewhere else in Tennessee, like the this is Compound, the Peterson Compound. So I don't want that to be wrong, but it's like we've had people come out there to see us. Another show that's a favorite is I like when we do things like where even if we wind up being the only rock band or the only punk band and stuff, like we're playing with other different kinds of different genres, but we wind up winning people over.
Yeah, sure.
Those shows are always good.
Absolutely.
So because we've done, because a friend of ours, her brother is the mayor of Mount Vernon. Okay, so we used to play Mount Vernon City Fest.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so that was good. I mean, we were on the bill with Slick Rick, The Locks, Melba Moore, Tanya Gardner, the one that sings "My Heart Beats for the One." Yeah, and it's like so that kind of that kind of that kind of eclecticism is usually where we wind up at.
Yeah.
I mean, opening for the Jizza too. That was good.
I bet.
Yeah, and because mind you, already hip hop audiences are pretty much open minded. Like especially if they like, you know, real hip hop and stuff. If they like boom bap hip hop. So
sure.
if we're on the bill like that, then it's like more likely we'll win them over. Because depending on because some other rock bands or whatever, it could be like, well, people audience are like, that was cool.
Yeah.
But like something about us because it fits into, you know, the energy over that's already going to be there as a hip hop show. But
that's right.
When we played with a band called Death, you know, at the Howard Theater, that was a great show. There are definitely great standout moments.
Yeah.
That's so many. Honestly, really, you know, so many. So heck, I mean, even this year's Afro Punk, I mean, you're on the bill with Erykah Badu. You can't really like. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, just even like, and even at times we'll have like really good, you know, local shows at the Bowery Electric.
Sure.
Or even out at Tompkins Square Park.
Yeah.
But I think the shows where people don't know what to expect, you know, and then they see us and like, when we can feel the energy, even if they're not, you know, they don't have to be moshing or anything like that. But if they're standing there watching but you can still feel the energy, like, oh, hey, this, because I mean, one thing that can't be denied is the groove.
That's right.
And so that's really what it comes down to. You know, people with a groovy mind recognize groove.
That's
so,
right.
Yeah,
That's right.
I mean, they do. So it's,
Um,
but yeah, it's so from from Purchase Rhyme Crew to Simp to Xiakuan to BR and Time Bomb to Rebelmatic. It's just a long, it's just a great journey.
It is now.
Yeah.
Has Rebelmatic ever played in the Bronx since you've been a part of them?
Almost.
Was it at Alfie's place that y'all almost played, or someplace else maybe?
If they did,
There haven't been too many venues.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Time,
or if there's like an event happening in the Bronx.
Okay.
So as far as, but the closest is Mount Vernon.
Okay, I see.
The closest is Mount Vernon City Fest because, because it's up there by South 3rd, so it's out in the big open area. It was great, but other than that, there really has. I mean, we haven't done that Yankee Stadium gig. The Jones Beach parking lot summer series.
Oh, for real.
Yeah, like
for real.
Oh God, or played in front of the Bronx War Memorial.
Make it happen, right?
Yeah, get the big stage and throw it in front. Or my favorite oh God, oh shoot, the little gazebo in Poe Park.
That
would be dope.
That would be dope. They used to have concerts there back in the day.
I figured that.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. I was like, this looks like something that'd be perfect for having concerts.
Yep.
I wonder if this still gets used or not.
Yep, but I don't know the last time that they did a concert there. Well, actually, I think, who was it? I think it was maybe Cool Keith did a concert there at one point a couple years back or something like that.
That'd be cool. All right. Okay.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we've already been going a while. Just want to see how you're doing. I only got a couple more questions for you, but you doing all right?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Yeah.
Okay. So why don't you talk some about recording with Rebelmatic?
All right.
And what y'all put out since you've been a part of them.
Well, since I've been in Rebelmatic, I've been on my first EP I was on was Eat the Monster.
Yeah.
And which is, Eat the Monster was really kind of like this starting gate. This is the new Rebelmatic, new direction of Rebelmatic, and like this is where we're going. It still had elements of Elephant Amnesia, but as far as the music direction was definitely changing, and then it becomes evident when we get to Judas Goat.
Yes.
Okay. And then after, so I'm on Eat the Monster, Judas Goat, and then we get to Ghost in the Shadows.
Oh, forget about it.
Yeah, listen. All right. Now, one of the things about Rebelmatic is that when people, I'm not revealing any ancient Chinese secret and stuff, but see, it's like our output. The songwriting process is like it just comes naturally. Like songs do come to us naturally. It's like it's either like I may bring in something like fully, developed, verse, chorus, verse breakdowns like that, and stuff come with song structure, and then we'll work on that, and we'll put that together and tighten it up, but then also on the other hand, you have someone like Alcatraz, who will just be playing a riff in the rehearsal studio, and Creature or myself will stop and go, "What was that?" And it's like because what happens is like the song might be gone. It's like, no, let's work on that. So we'll usually do that, and that's another way that's actually a lot of ways that our songs come up. So they come out natural, or they come through something jamming, through us jamming as well. Or Creature will hum a song idea and he'll send it to us, and we'll basically interpret his idea. But that's usually how we wind up writing our songs. And for that, it's like the output, music that we have is pretty, I would say it's pretty tremendous.
It is.
So to find myself on three, from that, from Eat the Monster to Judas Goat, to Ghost in the Shadow, Morning Dove, and then we're about to have A Black Hole Ate the Tornado.
Yeah, and the singles y'all been putting out are fire.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yeah. And we go to see our man, Mr. Mike, in Long Island, in Baldwin, Long Island, and stuff. But
is he the one who's been recording all of it since?
The only one, Ghost in the Shadow, and everything else.
Okay,
so Ghost in the Shadow, Morning Dove, Black Hole ate the Tornado, and then there's the new one coming out, Sting the Devil. But we've got.
When will that one be out? Do you know yet?
That one probably won't be out till fall. That probably because Black Hole Ace the Tornado has to come out first.
Yeah, sure.
We've got to put that out first.
Yeah.
But I've been on. But as far as the ones now, I am on. So I'm on 3 EPs and 1 LP. Wow, listen to me, 1 LP. But all right, 3 EPs and 1 full length, and then but as far as that's available to the public right now, so those are the 4 bodies of work that I'm on.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So I got a final question that I always ask at the end, but before we get to that, is there anything else about all of your tremendous musical journey that you haven't shared yet, that you think is important to share?
When Xiakuan was together, we used to, it was through a friend of mine, Charles Butterfield, with his band, Reign of Kings. So he was instrumental in having a relationship with this engine ladder company, 95 over on Story Avenue.
Oh, okay.
So by the BX5 bus, and we used to do this thing over there called Where There's Smoke.
Huh.
Yeah, and we did it for about 5 years. It was just kind of like a nice, cool collaboration between FDNY and NYPD, but it was something that would happen in the middle of this complex, like those low level project houses all together.
Yeah.
And for 5 years we did it during the summer. Yeah, and it was hot those summers at times and stuff. And this is also before. So this is before Rebelmatic, and this is kind of along with BR and Time Bomb.
I see.
Yeah. So sometimes we will put together Xiakuan, put Xiakuan back together for that reason. So we would do that. But what was great is that the people who lived in those apartments, they would let us use their electricity.
Wow.
No, it was cool. It was great. And we have a couple of people DJ. One person would DJ in particular. A friend of ours at the time, Tyrone Burkle, who, he hopefully still has a studio, BX Records, over there on Boston Road.
Okay.
Yeah, on Boston Road and Dyer. So I hope he's still over there. But doing that was great because also at the same time, that's when I started doing internet radio.
Oh, yeah.
So DJ Eddie Nocentelli, that's another person. That's me.
That's
was
you.
born out of doing that because I learned to DJ. Yeah, so I learned to DJ and I did internet radio for a little bit, but this is different. It's like you pre-record it and then put it up on the website. It's not like now. It's not like Mixcloud.
I see.
You can send in your mixes and publish it, make your own page. So I'm on Mixcloud. DJ Eddie Nocentelli.
And how'd you come up with that name, by the way?
Oh,
I've been
easily.
curious about
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
All right. Eddie Hazel from Eddie Hazel from Funkadelic, and Leo Nelson Telly from the Meters.
So you did a mashup.
Yeah, because they're two of my favorite
Yep.
guitarists, two of my favorite funk guitarists. But definitely, because of those two, so I put it together, and I always knew it would just throw people off. And it's like,
I was like, this sounds like an Italian name or something.
oh yeah, I love it. I love it because it confuses people. Like,
that's funny.
you don't look like a Nocentelli. You look like an Eddie, but you don't look like a Nocentelli. But yeah, and so when we used to do those, it was great because like it would be pretty much just community people, right there. And mind you, you letting these bands play heavy music and y'all complex, and stuff. But y'all still happy and cool, and because you know why? It's like. It was always positive. We never left a mess. It wasn't dirty, anything like that. Right. It was just good. It was just good, clean. Fun with loud music. Not always loud music. Like we'd have some acoustic acts. We'd have some jazz musicians playing too, and we were always done by 6 o'clock. So we get out there early. We done, the event going till 6, and that was it. Like it was, that was the fun part of. That was the little fun part of Bronx history too. A small part because it never really grew past. Just being there. Like at times I used to go around there. Like whenever it was coming up, I would go out there with my staple gun and the 8.5 by 14 flyers, thinking like, putting all these. Of course, I come back. Gone because I realized that that there's people sent out there to remove flyers off of telephone poles, especially if you use the staple gun. So, but those were good times too.
Wow,
that was a good time.
I'm glad you shared that. That's definitely a very.
And I still DJ too. So anybody that needs a DJ, I play funky grooves. Got that hip hop, got that rock. I know how to mix everything together.
Everything, that's right.
Okay?
That's right.
Salsa, reggae, what you want. It's like I'm the everything music man, Mr. Karnage. Get out of here.
All right, Karnage. So I'm going to hit you with the last question now. Do you think that there's a Bronx like heavy sound or heavy style or heavy vibe or something like that? If you think there is, how would you describe it?
See, because the Bronx is so big, so it's like people don't realize how big this borough is. It's like I think we're the largest borough land wise, or is it like what is it? We're
the only one connected to the mainland.
Yeah.
I think Brooklyn might be bigger land-wise. I'm not sure about that, though.
Yeah.
But it's definitely big borough.
Yeah. So I think, you know what? I think it being a big borough, and despite its large historical contributions to the world, it's still seen as an underdog. Yep. So I think, it's like the Bronx, the fight of the Bronx is still ongoing. Like, it just won't stop. It's like it just I think because like our sound is developed, the Bronx sound is developed because of how far you live. So in the sense you're kind of isolated at what you do. And I mean you're aware, but you're not. But like this, you're isolated, but you're not unaware. It's like you're still aware of what's going on, but you just kind of do your own version of it. So within the heavy sound, there isn't one big particular heavy sound because, I mean, a lot of sounds, are different, and they're heavy in their own way. Like not everyone has the same amount of heaviness, if you will. That's right. In the Bronx. That's one thing, I will say. Like each band from history has always sounded different. I mean, even if we want to go back as far as doo-wop, all the groups sounded different. I mean. Dion and the Belmonts. Yep. Where were they from?
Yeah. That's right.
That's right. Come on. It's like we have a whole history. I mean, the Dictators.
That's right.
It's like, I mean, And now Anthrax is a weird one because it's like some are from Queens and some are from Yonkers, and so where is it?
From the Bronx.
Some from the Bronx, but
yeah.
I still would, but I just really didn't consider them a straight New York band. But as far as like, but Bronx is its own entity and it's its own heavy sound because, and every band with the heavy sound sounds different. 24/7 Spies sounded different from everyone else. Even when Forrest did Black Vampires, I mean, it sounded different.
Definitely.
I mean, even though everybody wasn't from the Bronx.
That's right.
And stuff. All the other Bronx bands that I got to know, you know, through Mel O'Reilly, you know, each one of them sounded different.
That's right, they did.
And like, so that was one of the things about the pride of the Bronx is like serious individuality of whatever it is you do artistically, but definitely when it comes to music, like everyone's different. Everyone.
Absolutely.
You know, I couldn't even say it enough. Heck, you have Providing the Sickness. You had Vic 20. I'm just mentioning these other bands who people may not have known about and stuff. I mean, they did put out both of those bands did put out music. So they did release a physical, you know, version of music. So if y'all can find those two, please, people, go out there and look. They're part of the Bronx lineages as well. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Karnage, anything else you want to add that we haven't talked about yet? Anything else you want to say in closing?
When the say in closing is I want to give a shout out to everybody. So that's what I'll say in closing. Bronx music is not just about music, you know, in the Bronx. It's music that came from the Bronx that went to the world. So that's what it's about. The spirit of the Bronx has touched the world, whether or not people realize it. It's like, so when it comes to music, film,
For sure.
sports.
Yep.
I mean, come on, let's just think about it. Overall cultural definition. No other borough has done it. Mind you, let's keep it real now. Sections in other boroughs have done something, but an overall borough itself, it's the Bronx. So that's just what I want to say. But shout out to Brooklyn, shout out to Queens, shout out to Harlem, especially Harlem in my heart, where I was born. I did live in Bushwick for 15 years, and shout out to my man Chris, Taz, and Laurelton, Queens, where I was staying out there for a bit, holding the brother down until I had to go back to the Bronx. So, I mean, I don't know if you want to use any of that.
For sure.
If you know.
For sure.
Right.
Well, thank you so much, Karnage.
Yes. Thank you.